Today, I will be talking to you about swing trading NASDAQ 100 technical analysis. So make sure you watch this video to the end. So with that said, we're going to get straight into it. So the recap. So last week when I did the video on the Monday, okay, a lot of these things hadn't already taken place. So some of these moves up here hadn't already happened, and we was talking about market leaving the low value node, which at that point was this area over here. There is a slight change. We've got more buying pressure or more market activities in this zone right here, but outside of that, last week this was all relatively all the way back. I think this little node was around here somewhere. It was around here somewhere, right? But obviously there's been a lot of market activities at this level, so it's kind of pushed itself out forward a little bit. Now, one of the things that I was talking about last week, which I'm just going to get up now, as a matter of fact, let me actually just move this over a bit, and let's find the new week. So that will be over here, right? Yep, the Monday. And I think I'm going to cover this area over here as well. So this is the new week that we're in right now. This area over here, this is the new week. This was last week, and this was the week prior. Okay. So what we had on the Monday last week when I did the analysis was that we had price break above the low value node area. Okay, and I was talking about the possibility of jumping in. We was actually waiting for additional market structure to appear, just to help reinforce the idea as to why we should jump in. Okay, but bottom line is we got that close under, and that would have been a really good entry for us to get in on. Okay, especially if we, so this is the 7 o'clock, so this is the candle that we was looking at when I was doing the recording. Okay, and this is the candle that appeared straight after it. So if you had seen that and just decided to hop on, okay, you would have been looking at, say, roughly about 286 pips to the upside. Okay, so you would have just gotten all of that. That would have been really nice. And then the return back to the downside again, you could have done that as well, because it was more or less self-explanatory when price got up to this area of the high value node. So essentially it's gone into a low value node on the boundary on the high side of the high value area, and now it was going to begin its retracement back down to the downside. So you jumping in at this level over here to ride it downwards would have made sense. Okay, and naturally if you was able to stay in and did not get out at this level over here, you could have had it all the way down here. All right, so that's what more or less took place last week. So within that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover the new weekly highs and the new weekly lows for week just gone. Okay, so for week just gone. So let me get rid of all of these labels on this side over here. Okay, and then we can now see that we had our first weekly high that was a set for us on the Monday, and the weekly low that we got was set for us on the Thursday. And once again, price is in between both of them. Okay, let's add this in there, weekly low. All right, so just to get that part out of the way, the rules are as follows. Okay, obviously it does require a little bit of work at these levels to make sure that we don't get it wrong, but the general rule of thumb is this: if the weekly high or the weekly low is taken out, we'll be looking for moves in the corresponding direction. So if the high goes, we're looking for buys. If the sell is taken out, we're looking for sells. It's really simple. And the levels that we're looking at on the high side is 21,976.9, and on the low side, the weekly low, we're looking at 21,422.1. If any of these levels is taken out, we are looking for moves in the corresponding direction. So now that we've gotten that out of the way, we're going to jump into a higher time frame to kind of help us assist us with what's going on in this area, which we can kind of say is looking like price has gone into a range. All right, so on a 1 hour, it definitely looks like a range. Let's see how it looks on the 3 hour. Also looks like a range. And then let's look at a 4 hour. 4 hour still looks like a range, but I think it looks a lot better to work with on this in this view. I could do a day. Okay, day, not so much of a what's the word I'm looking for? Not so much of a consolidation, but however, let's see what we could have. Actually, as a matter of fact, let me jump into a naked chart. Okay, let's look at it from this angle. I'm just going to try a little idea right now and just want to see how plausible it looks. Okay, let's give this one here a go. It's not really symmetrical. Kind of is, but we've got a little level that pushes up over this. And then I think I've seen something in the market, so I'm just kind of just laying that out. It might be something, it could be nothing, but let's just see what market kind of tells us. Okay, so as it stands, this is a bullish candle that we have right now that's pushing up. I'll give my theories on that in just a few moments as I rejig this situation up here to make sure that it makes sense. I just want to make sure this thing makes as much sense as possible. Okay, all right, okay, so okay, cool. So I'm going to keep this here. We're going to bounce back into this chart in a moment, right? We're just going to go back to the original for now, and we're going to see what's going on there. Okay, right, so basically how I would look at this whole situation, especially for the Monday, because remember, over the weekend, a number of things have taken place. So with the situation that's going on in the Middle East right now, we had America get involved officially for the first time yesterday, right? Or not yesterday, over the weekend. Not really sure if it was a Saturday or Sunday that they joined it, but it was definitely over the weekend, right? So what we're kind of waiting for is how overall the world is going to respond to that news this week, right? So oil's already made a move. So I don't know if you've had a look, but oil's already made a move. We're now waiting to see if the NASDAQ is going to respond to this situation or if it's not going to respond to the situation. But either way, the rules for the NASDAQ kind of remains the same based on what we've kind of laid out as to the types of movements we're looking for. So for example, a close below the weekly low, right? We'll go back to the 4 hour. So a close below the weekly low is effectively a close below the low value node, right? So a close below 21422.1 would mean you could consider taking sales from that location. But you also have to bear in mind that there is a larger low value node, which is right here. Okay, that is the first, the top side of that zone is 21,136.3, and the lower side of that zone is 20,177.8. So that's this area right here. Okay, you want to know if price is going to come into it, and if it does, if it's going to break through or push up. In my opinion, we might have a head and shoulders in this area right now, right? So according to the work that I've just done in this area over here, okay, which looks like gibberish right now, but however, it kind of looks to me a possibility of a head and shoulders. And you're probably saying, how is that even possible? That is not what you're seeing. I will show you on this one where it's a little bit clearer, okay? Well, it's not as clear, but it is clear enough, okay? So if we just look at just the top part, it's the market, just top area of the market, okay? And let's just say we put a little level here to say this is the neckline, right? So this is the neckline of the head and shoulders, okay? It would be fair to assume, looking at how everything is looking right now, that this could be the first shoulder. This is the head that we're looking at right now. We might get a little bounce around in this area, and then ultimately we might get priced down here. Then it could push up. So all of that supports the low value node in this area over here. Okay, but at the same time, this is just an assumption. It's not a fact. It's just an assumption. So as it stands today, what would I be looking for if I wanted to make a move? Once again, I'll be waiting for price to leave this zone right here. Okay, so let me just drag this down a little bit lower so we get it dead on inside of the box, inside of the low value node area itself. So I would say something along the lines of this, okay? A close above 21651.4, I would be looking for buys under the assumption that price has left the low value node and is pushing back to the upside. And the close below the weekly low, I'll be looking for sales, because I'll be working off the assumption that price has left the low value node again and is heading downwards to the new low value node, which is in this area right here. Okay, and the first level in question, like I said earlier, is 21129.0 or thereabouts. All right, so with that said, that is how I'll be behaving in the market for this week. Those are the levels that I will be looking for, and those are the plays that I'll be aiming to play should certain conditions apply. And this area right here is the area of interest at the making of this video right now. What it does in this box will tell us what we need to do moving forward. So with that said and done, I will see you all on the next one.